Now, in this week's Sport of the Week section, I'm joined here on the set by Marshall Norbal from the Black Collective of Media in Sport and Troy Townsend from Kick It Out campaign for anti-racism. So, chaps, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Marshall, tell us a little bit about BCOMS.
Yeah, sure. So, the Black Collective of Media in Sport, we founded back in 2009. Our main founder, Leon Mann, and a group of 7 other journalists. Really, we're focusing on what more can be done for black people in the community of sport. There wasn't enough representation. So it really started very smallly and it slowly developed within the next couple of years. Each particular member was actually part of working for one of the major sporting organisations or broadcasters in the United Kingdom. And then from there, moving on to the next 4 or 5 years, up until the present day, we now have over 200 members in our mailing list. And also we recently held a very huge D-word conversation, D-word 2, at BT Sports Studios in East London.
Excellent. Troy, Kick It Out. Now, it's been around since, I think it's 1993. Yeah. Where it didn't start as Kick It Out. It started just a small charity, wasn't it?
Small charity. We're still a charity, but it started as Let's Kick Racism Out of Football. Changed its name to just Kick It Out in 1997. And on our 20th anniversary, we had a rebrand, so we incorporate all kind of discrimination now, although people still focus around Kick It Out as thinking its focus is only racism. But in today's society and in today's world, and very much in today's footballing world, you have to challenge all forms of discrimination, and that's what the organisation does.
Sure. So as Education and Development Manager, you do a lot of the EFL life skills. Could you tell us a little bit about that programme?
Yeah, so the programme of the Premier League is called Equality Inspires, and it's something that I put together on the back of some of the work that we were doing with the Football League, but we made it more tailored towards the academy structure. So anything from 9 all the way up to 23, so the development squads, and then coaches and parents as well. Because if we're going to start instilling messages into young players and young people, you know, it needs to come from every angle that they get it from. So they're very rewarding sessions. They're very challenging. They are very much so. But, you know, I tend to think that, you know, a lot of people feel that the average or the footballer as such, you know, is not clued up, is not streetwise, is not smart. All they know is to play with their feet. And what we're trying to do is just give, you know, a better understanding to our young players around, you know, not just equality and diversity, but also making sure they keep and that inclusive environment within their changing room.
Fantastic. Now, within sports media, for both of you, I'm sure, there are very few, or it seems that there are very few BAME people within the sports media, and even Troy, when it comes to managers and board directors as well. How do you think, Marshall, that we can actually inspire the future generations if they feel that there's no avenue to get into sports media?
I think one of the ways that we need to really focus on it is what we do, for example, at BCOMS is regularly visit schools, colleges, young community groups, empower them, use our main figureheads who are already in the industry to empower these youngsters to say, regardless of what your circumstances are, use that powerfully to drive yourself to focus and to aim to achieve to get into that particular industry because it is difficult. It is very, very difficult.
Now, you say the people that they aspire to be. Off the top of my head, I can think of Chris Kamara and Mike Wedderburn. That's it. That's a fact. But also, I'll give you a perfect example from Leon's perspective. You know, Leon came through broadcast journalist with the BBC. Now does a lot of work. Also now with ITV Sport.
Used to work for us at Kick It Out.
There you go. And he understands that responsibility that he has to say, well, hang on a minute, people of the ethnic background and environment minority need that figurehead or someone to be like, oh, I can reach out to someone like them. I can relate to them. They need to find that level of relatability because if they don't feel the empowerment to keep going and work through the challenges and the struggles that they will naturally face in order to get their way into the industry.
Sure. The thing is, you look at Olympics, Paralympics, European Championships, Wimbledon, 43% of the people from the BMA community were ex-athletes. So kids today are looking at these people and saying, well, what's the point? Unless I'm an ex-player or an ex-athlete, people like Paul Ince and John Barnes, who have been managers but have now gone into media, what makes the younger generation want to become a BAME manager when there's only people like Chris Powell and Chris Hughton around?
Well, you say that, and a couple of seasons ago, when on the same day Chris Powell and Chris Ramsey got sacked, you know, for me, I said it was a sad day for up and coming, you know, black and ethnic minority coaches, because everyone's searching for a role model. Everyone, when they take on whatever they want to do within sport or in media, they want to see someone at the very top that looks like them, that sounds like them, because they mirror themselves. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a particular player. Laurie Cunningham was the person I looked up to, because, you know, I could see a lot of me in Laurie.
Right.
And obviously he'd made it in the game. So it's a massive struggle at the moment, because at the end of the day, you see, you know, nearly 30% representative of the BME community on the football side of it, on the pitch. But then that's not reflective when you go into the management senior positions, then you go into the boardrooms. It's even less effective. So we need to make sure that we're providing those solutions as such, so providing the opportunities for people to see role models in and around the industry, whilst also challenging the top end of the industry to say, you need to be more diverse, you need to be more reflective of the people that are playing the game of football. And that is going to be a continued challenge. That's not going to happen overnight, you know, not just in sport, just in anything, in politics, where are our BME representatives? So we could talk about this right across the board, but I think that, you know, we're getting there. Progress is slow. I think everyone wants to run before they can walk. But with events like, obviously, in the media side of it, event like BCOMS 2, the D word, sorry, you're showing there that there's an appetite out there. There's a new wave of young people that want to get into the media. There's a new wave of young coaches that want to get into the highest levels of the game. What we've got to do is find out why that in the semi-professional game we can see quite a number of young black coaches coming through the system, but it thins out the higher we go up. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's like you look at all sports now, and there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of black players that can be inspiring. I don't see any BAME golfers. I see one Formula One driver. I don't see, in the Rio Olympics, where the gold medals were won, the only place we saw BAME people was on the track. Predominantly, obviously, predominantly. So how do we change the perception? Because that's from where I'm coming from. That's my perception is, well, why do we not have a Mo Farah in golf? Why do we not have another Lewis Hamilton in Formula One? What do you think we need to do to actually get BAME kids to actually want to take up and be active in these sports?
I think we have them. I think, you know, along the way, what we don't do is publicise them very well. It's like a lot of things. We don't publicise certain communities very well. They're active, they're involved in sport, they're doing sport. Are the pathways there for them? So I could be critical of a lot of, you know, organisations about what pathways or what are they allowing the BME community. And it's not just, you know, from the black community, it's from the Asian community, you know, the South Asian community, right across the board. What pathways are we showing that they can achieve? But who at the top sounds like them, looks like them, and can empathise with them as well when these challenges come up. So there's a lot of work for sport to do, you know, but we do have fantastic, you know, role models within the game who could help young people a lot more and talk out a lot more in terms of, you know, what they have to face.
Well, I've seen on the Kick It Out, I don't know if you've seen this, Marshall, on the Kick It Out, the next 20, it's not just black players. You've got people like Ben Davis, you've got Jack Butland, and these are all guys, all these kind of guys, and even female golf footballers on there too. Tony Duggan from Manchester City, Jordan Nobbs from Arsenal. Are these white the white players actually getting into these communities that we're talking about, like Tower Hamlets, for example, or places like the Borough of Ealing in London? These are the places that really need the help right now.
What we do with the next 20, we use them to promote Kick It Out's causes. And we use them because they talk very well and they have a massive influence. The game of football is the biggest game that there could be, the global game that there is. So, you know, when a professional footballer talks, regardless of their background, people listen. And it's great to have ambassadors like Tony Duggan and Jordan Nobbs as well from the female side of the game to show that women are achieving as well within the sport, regardless of whether they're black, whether they're white. The first challenge is to get more female representation. And what we do events in their localised areas. So I know that the person that runs it up for us at Kick It Out, Paul Mortimer, is at an event today at Arsenal with Carl Jenkinson.
Excellent.
So again, Carl is a very articulate footballer, a white footballer, who will be going and delivering messages to a multicultural school environment, and that can only help and be positive because you know, sometimes we drum on or we talk about, you know, the black community, but it's good for them also to see that, you know, someone who doesn't look like them, sound like them, is actually talking the same messages that a black colleague will or another black player will. So the power of the message sometimes is more important than who's delivering the message. And hopefully, like I said, in years to come, we will see a lot better representation, but we have to continue to challenge, for me, right at the very top, first and foremost, and let it work its way down.
Absolutely. So, Marshall, for you, BCOMS, where do you see the media in sport in say 2 or 3, 4, 5 years' time when it comes to, you know, BAME people and more ethnically diverse people within the sports media?
Personally, I see it as it's a process, as Troy's saying. It's a long game. It's not about trying to see huge, significant change within the next 12 months, but drastic steps need to be made. And I think the large broadcasters first have a massive hand with that. The likes of your BT Sports, Channel 4, Sky, ITV.
Were they all at the D Word 2 conference?
They were all at the D Word, all of their senior representations. I think the key is that the onus does need to initially be on them, and to do more to make it more marketable, to be active in environments and communities and colleges or at universities, or actually to organise events that empower people to say, regardless of what your background is, whether you are of an ethnic minority, if you are a male or female, if you have disability, it doesn't matter. We're interested in your ability to do something. And if they can feel that empowerment to do it, more people will be willing to say, well, I'm happy to apply for the BBC or to Sky or wherever it is. Often what you do see, and I've personally experienced this myself, the challenges that people from an ethnic background can find from trying to get into that environment, whether it's maybe because they didn't have the education or they're not a qualified journalist, but they do have certain skills that actually warrant, you know, journalistic experience, whether it's in front of the camera or the ability to engage with people or to hold information or to express and make a point and articulate themselves. So there is a huge emphasis that especially we at BCOMS are doing to put more empowerment and responsibility to the broadcasters to say, hey guys, it starts with you.
Excellent. Racism is still out there on the football terraces, unfortunately. Yep. Congratulations on winning the award for the app.
No worries at all.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Kick It Out app?
So the app enables anybody that either witnesses or has been subjected to any form of discrimination to report anonymously. So on the app, which can be downloaded by Apple Streams or by Android, it allows you to send a report directly to Kick It Out and directly to the club as well. So literally, if you have the details, you can tell anyone where they're sitting. You can tell them what part of the stadium you're in, and it's been a great means of, for us as well, you know, it's a bit out of our norm. You know, we've had to go into an uncomfortable environment in terms of this is new for us, technology, but it's what the world demands at the moment.
Yeah,
you know, so everyone's on their phones. You know, sometimes people won't have the confidence to go up to a steward or an individual and say, I've been abused, you know, because of the colour of my skin. Yeah. Or whatever it may be, so they can tap the details down on an app and report it anonymously if they want to. So it's a huge step forward for us. We've also introduced an academy app as well, so the work that we do in the academies, the young players also have an app as well, which is not just for reporting. I must stress that there's news stories in there, there's other bits for them to utilise it as well, because if you only have an app that can be perceived as quite negative. You know, you'll get people not wanting to download it or not wanting to utilise it. So, yeah, it was a massive step forward for us, and it's also helped us improve how our reporting system has gone as well.
And they can be downloaded on the various stores you can get?
Yeah, on the App Store and on Fire Android as well.
Excellent. Well, Troy, Marshall, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
It's been fantastic. You can find out more about BCOMS at bcom.co, and you can also get more information at kickitout.org. Again, a big thanks to you both for coming on Sports Weekly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.